Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Marriage Puzzle Podcast. We are Thomas and Julie Hobby, and we are going to be doing a deeper dive this week into a book review that for a book that we recently read. We talked about it some on last week's episode when we were talking about personalities and marriage, and the book that we're diving into this week is called Know Yourself, Know Your Money. It's a book by Rachel Cruze, who comes out of the Dave Ramsey organization. In fact, she's his daughter, and the book really hit home for us, in talking about it last week, mixed in with the personalities, just in marriage. We felt like when we got to read this book, that it gave us a background into why we are the way we are with money. It dives into how you were raised around money and things like that. And so it just was a really great book. We've got the book linked on our website. So if you want to buy the book, make sure you go to our website and check it out. And tonight we're going to be diving into the personality test we took from the book. And that is not listed on our website. You have to get that directly from the Dave Ramsey website. But if you love the podcast and you want to support us and getting this book is something of interest to you, if you buy it through our website, we'll get a little bit of a commission on that at no extra cost to you, and it just really helps us out. So that would be greatly appreciated. But the quiz you'll have to get directly from Dave Ramsey's site. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, and I'm excited because I actually read somewhere just today that said, money is the opposite of the weather. Nobody talks about it, but everybody does something about it. So think about it.
Yeah, when you said that to me earlier, it took me a couple minutes to kind of wrap my mind around it.
When people talk about the weather, like people do, right? It's kind of I don't know what to talk about, so I'm going to bring up the weather. Mm-hmm. But nobody can do anything about the weather.
Right.
So if money is the opposite of the weather, nobody talks about it, but everybody does something about it. Mm-hmm. That's why I was like, whoa, that's so true.
And that can cause some problems in marriage, right? If everybody's doing their own thing about money, but they're never talking about it and coming to the table and trying to get on the same page, then you could have two people who have good intentions but are doing completely opposite things and are really just going to be hamstringing each other. Right.
And I think before marriage, we tend to talk about deep things. I think we try to. But you don't know what you're going to experience. I mean, that's kind of why the marriage puzzle is our name and our brand and our theme here, because you're going to turn over different puzzle pieces along the way and not really get know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. But so before marriage, you try to ask those deep questions like, how many kids do you want? Where do you want to live? Or maybe they are deeper financial dreams that you do talk about. I want to give credit to that, but even that is maybe just still surface of what are your career goals and how much income you want to make. Or when you're buying a house, you're probably going to talk about the cost and the price of your mortgage and what you can afford there. Those are really big, high level things.
Which are appropriate because you have to see how compatible you are with that person to stay with them the rest of your life. And if they're thinking, I think I could get by on making, $15,000 a year. And you're like, no, I'm thinking like $150,000 a year. You're way apart, But I think those are important questions.
Yeah. Good point. I think though the conversation should not end at that date table, I should say. I was going to say the dinner table. Because this book helps you answer, the book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money, helps you answer and communicate very practical money questions that you should be talking about throughout your marriage, mm-hmm. not just day one or before marriage, kind of as you go along. So just two examples from the book that I was like, wow, people should talk about money like they talk about the weather, is how much you expect to spend on a special occasion. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, gifts. if we did, our anniversary's coming up. So if we didn't have that conversation, I mean, what if one person just gave the other a card and someone gave a gift that's hundreds of dollars?
A brand new car.
I mean, that's great, but they're not matching, and the expectation there is going to be off. Or even a better example, maybe just be a date night. If I'm like, it's your turn to surprise me on our date night and you take me to McDonald's, like, well, maybe we should have talked about the spending limits. Or if I went too far and spent all of our savings on one, excursion, that may not be an enjoyable experience for you either. So again, how much you'd expect to spend on a special occasion, just one example from the book. And another one was, for me to feel comfortable, my emergency savings can't get below blank. And again, that is an amazing question to actually think for yourself and learn that. That's what we talked about last week with personalities, like learn yourself and then learn your spouse, and then marrying those two, just having those real open conversations, can hopefully save some frustrations and fights along the way on marriage.
Yeah. And I think that those are great and definitely need to be talked about, like you said, throughout the marriage. But I think some of those simpler questions, those more lower altitude questions, are important as well, because you have to know what you're going to be experiencing on a day-to-day process with the other person. And that's where those questions come into play. Those are the day-to-day type of scenarios that you're going to be working through. You also need to know the high-level stuff too. So I think both are equally as important to be talking about before marriage and, throughout marriage, because those things can change as well. I mean, as your income grows, your threshold of what a special occasion gift could go from $50 to $500. I mean, that all depends on, how successful you are and things like that. But
if you're not talking about it, communicating it, like I said, even a generous gift or gesture can make the other one feel really, really insecure.
Right.
I mean, we've been there. Remember when our washer and dryer died? I had a very, very simple washer and dryer, just kind of, I guess, came at the house or something.
Yeah.
And they just died. So, of course, you have to go get another washer and dryer. And we went, and now I know my husband, he does a lot of research before purchasing. But you don't always include me, or have not in the past included me in those research and the time and stress or whatever you've already calculated in your head. So I wasn't part of the process. So when we got there and we bought our new washer and dryer, it was top of the line, very nice quality. And in the store, I was excited. Actually, I was like, wow, these are amazing. Like, I was totally sold, right? And then when we got in the car and had them loaded up, I guess I had like buyer's remorse. I started crying. Do you remember that?
I do.
And I was more like, what have you done? Why did you buy the top of the line if we can't afford that? But we could,
All
and
of it
I
was
didn't.
my fault,
no,
apparently.
it was a marriage.
What did you do? I was right there next to you, but what did you do?
It was a marriage defining moment, because I just thought of that, actually, that memory, because that was really real. That was probably the first time that I realized I have no idea where we stand financially to know that we could afford that. And I just felt like we had thrown away everything. And so that was really early on, and I don't want that for other couples. That was such a silly, like, really high and really low moment for me. And it's humorous now, but we've had to learn to talk about those little things and big things along the way.
I mean, I think it's funny that you say it was really early on, because we'd probably been married for about 8 years when that happened.
Actually, I was just thinking that. I was like, did we have kids?
It was around the time the kids were probably already born, but they were probably young.
Yeah. But it just feels a long time ago because we've grown
Yeah.
in the next 8 years. But yeah, anyway.
Back to the podcast.
Back to the
we're going
book.
down memory lane here, but yeah. So
why we're recommending this book, that you should read it with your spouse or discuss it together.
Yeah, that's actually a really great segue, because the book actually talks about money fears, motivations that you have around money between spending, saving, giving, and what they call the money classrooms. They say that it's the intersection between emotional and verbal communication, to tell you which classroom you're in with money. And the different classrooms are anxious, unstable, unaware, or secure is how they list them out. And if you kind of think of the XY axis, you've got the emotional going one way, which is secure versus unsecure with money. And then you've got the verbal, which is going the other way, which is open communication versus closed communication. And then kind of depending on how you feel your upbringing was and things like that, you'll land in one of those classrooms. And it's really just insightful to know why you kind of view things the way that you view them. And I think it's great because, it circles around how your parents handled their money, how they talked to you about money, whether they did or didn't talk to you about money. And that can instill a lot of values in us that we don't really know or understand how to unpack. And this book does a really good job of helping you to unpack some of those emotions around money, so that you can learn more about why you think of money the way you do, or why your relationship towards money is the way it is.
Yeah. And the last topic that we're going to talk about today, that the book touches on, is money tendencies. And there's 7 of them. And then in the quiz, you can kind of see where you fall on the spectrum, higher or lower. And so we're just going to touch about half of them or so today, because one of them is spender versus saver. Mm-hmm. And I think knowing that about yourself and about your spouse is very, very helpful. Just practical things. I am totally the spender, and Thomas is more the saver. Mm-hmm. And so, I think when I get back from the store, I'm like, but I saved this much. Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about how much I spent. But
I hate that.
Again, coming at a very humorous approach today, but stuff we've had to work through and learn about each other. So that one wasn't a surprise. But Thomas, was there any other surprises on where we scored?
I don't think that it was really surprising to us. I mean, another one is, if you've done anything with Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University, or read the Total Money Makeover book or anything like that, then you probably heard the terms nerd or free spirit. They use those terms as very endearing terms in their system. The nerd is more of the person who just kind of gravitates towards doing the finances, wants to know the budget and do the budget and know where every dollar is going to go and things like that. And the free spirit's more of just like everything will just happen and fly by the seat of our pants and it's all good. They feel kind of trapped by a budget or constrained by a budget. And so I'm definitely more of the nerd. You're definitely more of the free spirit. And
although I think on the quiz we scored both on the nerd side. Yeah,
both on the nerd side.
Which is interesting.
You're just a little more to the free spirit side than I am.
Because the other ones we're going to touch on, we are opposite mm-hmm. of each other. But I want to stress that's not the goal, and that's mm-hmm. not, opposites attract. Yes and no. I think some similar personalities we have to have to relate to each other. Right. And so, when we did this as an audiobook. So when we were listening to the book and answering the questions after each chapter, I think we were trying to pick, are you nerd or free spirit? Mm-hmm. But on the assessment,
it's a spectrum.
Yeah, I put us both on the nerd side, just one's more nerdy.
Yeah, I mean you can think of it as like those survey questions you do, like strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, whatever. And it's kind of lands you somewhere on the spectrum so that you can kind of see where you fit in. You don't have to be all the way on one side or all the way on the other. You can fit somewhere in the middle. Another one was safety versus status. That one was really insightful to me. I think, that based on when we got to see that in comparison to your Enneagram, like we were talking about last week, and my Enneagram, those both lined up perfectly with our Enneagram types. Now, I don't know how that would line up for everybody else, but for us, it lined up perfectly that you land more on the status end, I land more on the safety end of how we, of our tendency towards money in that regard.
Yeah, and then the last one, spoiler alert, last week already said, was experiences versus things, and just our money tendencies there. And so Thomas likes to buy more things or spend money on things, and I like to spend money on experiences. And I guess that's just kind of to go back up to my first point on the how much you'd like to spend on special occasions. If we didn't have those conversations to answer that question or know where we fall on experiences versus things, I think we'd be really disappointed, because you'd probably want to buy a bunch of gifts for Christmas or receive a bunch of gifts for Christmas and put our money there. And I want to go on a vacation. Why haven't we gone on a vacation this year? Well, we're saving it for Christmas. Well, no, I want to save it for vacation. And again, it's just these little tips that can come about in your marriages if you don't discuss them when you're not in those, when it's not Christmas morning, right. And you're like, what did you just do? Or the washer and dryer. You talk about them before they're a big blow up, or when you do have those unexpected things that you didn't know to talk about it, lean into why you're feeling how you're feeling and where you might understand each other from, like I said, experiences versus things, or safety versus status, or spender versus saver.
Yeah. And, a big thing for us is, as if you've been listening to the podcast every week, that by profession, I'm a financial coach. So in this regard, shameless plug, if you want some help with your finances, make sure you send us a direct message, and, we can talk about how I could help you with that. But, really this book hit home for us from just a deeper communication level. We're really big about communication. It's something that we've had to grow a lot in our marriage, and communication in all aspects. But, we've all heard that money and finances is a major reason that marriages end in divorce. I was just looking up some statistics on this. And one of the websites that I found said that like 41% of divorces state that finances were a major reason of why a divorce occurred. And so, that's something that we think, we've learned to try to communicate about. We're not perfect at it. We're not saying we're the absolute experts, but we've learned a lot of things. And if we can put something out there to try and help people who are struggling in this area, then, why not? And this book was huge for us, hugely helpful. And we, in all fairness, when we read the book, listened to the book, we were a lot farther down the road. We were pretty close to being out of debt, and we were doing okay financially and things like that. But it really gave us a lot of great insight. It was one of these books that I wish I had it back in year one of our marriage,
For real.
because it would have helped us so much more along the way. But it recently came out. I mean, within the last year or so. It's a new book. So it wasn't even available to us back then. So wherever you're at now, we really, truly recommend this book. It's a fantastic book to help you with your communication in general, but specifically around money. So we really encourage you to go check it out. Don't become a statistic of divorce without doing everything that you can to try and save your marriage. And if this book can get you there in the finance area, spend the $15 on the book or whatever it is. If you need the permission to spend a little money, to buy a book to help your marriage, spend the $15. Additionally, this quiz that we took from the Dave Ramsey website, that costs $30 on their website, but well worth the money. So invest in your marriage.
I was just going to say that. Investing in your
beat you to
marriage
it.
is just a blog post we just posted. So,
and it's a nice little pun on the money side of things too.
I know, but seriously, investing in your marriage, take a look at marriagepuzzle.com, because then you'll see our blog posts, which are out the 1st and 15th of every month, with the most recent investing in your marriage. And that's actually not about buying books, but go check that out. And but if you want to buy the book, it's also the link is on our website. So marriagepuzzle.com, you can see all the tabs of our blogs and affiliates and things like that. But I'm so excited because we are going to actually give away a book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money, and a quiz.
Mm-hmm.
So we have on hand a hardback book from Rachel Cruze, and a link that you and your spouse can both take the assessment for free, and then they put the results together in one PDF for you to review. So if you're not following us on Facebook or Instagram at Marriage Puzzle, you'll want to right away, because we'll post those contest details on there this week, and hope that you can win the book and link. So like a $45 value. Woohoo.
Yeah.
But we're so excited that you joined us again this week, and you were kind of touching on it about communication is key. And so we're going to take next month and talk a lot about communication. So it's not all about money, but just this is communicating in your marriage, communicating with your about money in your marriage. And so I hope you join us next week and every Monday, where together we'll work on marriage one puzzle piece at a time. Have a great week.
See you later.